Hi everyone, welcome to the Bright Signal podcast where we cut through the noise and bring you the latest tech news and interviews. My name is Murilo and I'm joined by my friend Bart. Hey Bart.
Hey Murilo.
And we just had a chat with Alexandre Pereira from 2501.
Yeah, it was a very interesting chat. 2501, what they do is that they build autonomous SRE agents and bring them to large corporate enterprises. Why this is very interesting is that their value proposition is that they basically do root cause analysis on anything that goes wrong on their infrastructure, but also try to automate the remediation, which in these type of enterprises is typically not easy because they have a complex infrastructure, large part on-prem, part in the cloud, part of it modern, part of it legacy. So it's a very complex environment. And if you can execute something like this correctly, then it becomes a very, very interesting value proposition.
Indeed. Yeah, it was a really nice chat. So yeah, let's go to the interview. Welcome everyone. Hey Bart.
Hey Murilo.
And hey Alexandre. Alexandre Pereira. Is that sounds good? How are we doing?
Warm outside.
Warm. Yeah. Thanks for joining us, Alexandre. Welcome to the Bright Signal podcast. Maybe you can dive in already, and for the people that don't know you, would you like to introduce yourself, share a bit of your background?
Yep, sure, guys. So, Alex, I'm obviously French. You will notice with the accent. I'm let's say, an entrepreneur since 10 to 12 years now, working essentially on tech for enterprise. Also spent the large majority of my starting career into corporate world, launching e-commerce websites, working with these big brands in Europe, in France especially, doing that for the last 20 years now, and it's a very cool spot to be. And since 2 years now, we work on AI, on agentic AI, especially for corporate as well. So that's gonna be one of the topic today. But yeah, that's it. So I would consider myself as a mix between a tech guy. I'm not an engineering by training, but I'm an engineering by love and trying to code when I can. But now, I'm not coding anymore so that much. I'm just trying to make this thing move forward and do the best product we can.
So you didn't study any computer science or anything like that? You just on the side, you're just tinkering with it and learn by doing?
Yeah, I was a kind of a cliche nerd when I was a kid. My parents and my family were super nerdy as well. I was playing video game on Sega Master System with my grandparents. So that was kind of fun. I started to have my own computer quite early, coding to pay, when I was having this 125cc moped and I needed to pay everything for it. So at some point I was shall you work in McDonald's or shall you work in tech and do websites for the groceries or for the bakery? And I started to do that. And ultimately, I landed in this company that is named Decathlon, that you may know. It's a sportswear group. The head of marketing of this brand there was completely crazy and it was okay, you're 18 years old, but you look fun and you know how to code websites, so come to work with us. I was not having any other experience in that, and that launched the thing. So yeah.
Super cool.
Interesting background story.
You also have something similar, right, Bart? Also tinkering with the stuff, and you
went to
exactly. Yeah. Officially to tech later, right, in life as well.
There are some parallels indeed, yeah.
Very cool. And also, how did you? So we're gonna talk about 2501 or 2501. I don't know how.
2501 is the good way in English.
2501. Yeah.
Everyone is asking about it, and I think we figured it out only 2 or 3 months ago.
Okay.
Everyone's asking, how do we pronounce it? And we're we don't know. So we have to choose.
Yeah, naming things are hard.
2501 in English.
Okay, there we go. And it's you mentioned agentic, right? How did you get in touch with agents and all these different things? Did you just jump on it early on, or?
So if you want the genesis of the project, basically we were trying to create LLM chaining technologies at the very, very start of it. I don't know, we were on GPT 3.0 or something like that, 3.5 maybe. And you started to have these guys online on GitHub doing what we call agent orchestration. It was not named agent at this time. It was named, I don't know, LLM orchestration or training LLMs. And you had I don't know if you heard about these kind of GitHub repositories Baby AGI, AutoGPT. AutoGPT went crazy. I think it was number 2 GitHub fastest repository to get on. They were just doing something simple. They were just chaining and looping on LLM response. And this was just very, very basic at the beginning. But it was the start of what could be agentic. And we called it agentic further. So it started all of this kind of crowd started to innovate, a bit like in startup garage mode, GitHub. So we started to do the same with one of my colleagues, just like trying to see if we can do something. And I was not at all in this mood of, I don't know, creating a new company or whatever. We're like just playing with the tech. And I don't know, a few months after, early 2024, we started to see fundraising happening in there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the one that was significant and that was kind of the compelling event starting everything on agentic was Cognition Lab Devin product launch.
Yeah.
That raised, I think, 100 million from scratch at the beginning.
It was very early indeed, yeah.
Yeah, top tier one VC in US. So everyone after that was like, okay, there is something interesting because if Founders Fund is interested in this kind of thing, that could be very good, maybe in the future. So it started to get credibility to these GitHub repositories and all these innovators that were trying to do something and trying to make sure that, I don't know, the VCs getting there put a lot of legitimacy in the And so I started to do the same. I was like, okay, maybe there's something to do. And at this point, I was a bit at the end of my previous entrepreneurial story, which was in Japan. And I was like, okay, let's look at what we can do. Ultimately, like in a few months, we raised our first €1 million that became like a 2 million round pre-seed. And then we went into that. Then I can explain later how the construction of the product, but the very origin of it was just like pure innovation research with people trying stuff with this technology. Okay. And I like that because we're entering a phase, again, with AI, where we innovate a lot based on pure, how to say, pure random ideas sometimes. And this chaining of LLM was not at all anticipated by guys. Yeah. OpenAI didn't anticipate it. Anthropic didn't anticipate it. It's just like 2 years ago that Sam Altman says, no, the chat is not what will be the end product, but there is something else cooking. And there is just one guy stupidly saying, but maybe it can generate code. And if it can generate code, it can generate action itself. And so here we go. So
that means that when you created the company, you didn't really have this exact vision that you have today, like what you want to do. You started from you see that there's a value in this and we're going to see and experiment and innovate and see what direction we can take this?
Yeah, that was basically like this kind of thing. We were like, okay, how can we create something that is autonomous in a computer terminal system, in a shell script system? And how we can like make something that will be, I don't know, the next AI OS or the next developer experience. So everyone was kind of touching everything everywhere. It was like 2 years ago. So Claude code was nothing. You had like a bit of projects trying to do this with, I don't know, Copilot was trying to do some stuff. You had like some guys at Y Combinator starting to create companies similarly, like, I don't know, Pythagora, Arbel, that has all pivoted or died since. What I liked is that, it was very, very R&D driven, and the need started to emerge after that. And it's not a need that is a new need. You don't create a market, and I will come back to our market later, but the technology is so huge, so powerful that you can apply it to a lot of stuff. And this was what was the, kind of the gut feeling about it with the first investors and with my colleagues. We're like, we're going to figure it out. It's just like so big, so huge. It's a once of a lifetime, maybe once of a century revolution right now that we're living, that if we play well this thing, it might work.
And you said like your co-founders as well, or was it like back then when you were being curious and like trying things out and tinkering? Was it already the co-founders? Was it like colleagues? Was it just friends? How, like, what are when you were sharing these ideas, what was the team or who were the people that you were discussing these things with?
So at the beginning, we were just like kind of racing with one of the guys that is my friend. He was having his project, I was having my project, and we were like a bit competing every night, trying to code what could be the next thing. Ultimately, he joined me on the project because I was like, okay, now I think we have something interesting. I have a bit of pre-seed money arriving. Join me. We don't compete. We continue together. And he was not the co-founder, but the first employee of the company. And then my co-founder Alex joined me a few months after from his current thing. So it was a bit of a story of just, I don't know, coding and seeing how it goes. And investors were like in the same way. We are super lucky to have these guys that joined on pre-seed as well, because we got like, I think, what is the best configuration of pre-seed investors. And we're just super supportive on, you're going to figure it out.
And that also means that you got your pre-seed rounds also really before there was a very strong idea to sell.
Yeah, and that's what it should be, in my opinion. This is the thing, the VC world is a bit like paradoxal because there is always a reason to not invest. There is always 1 million reason to not invest in a company. But in the end, if you look at pre-seed rounds, what do you look for? You're looking like at co-founders, team, a bit the vision, but the vision can be a bit blurry and gross still. But you're not looking at any market trends. You're not looking at, okay, market research can happen, but not if you are like purely tech-driven, R&D driven. It's different than just if you launch like a service company.
Oh. Maybe to make a step to today, like what is the product that you're offering today as 2501?
Yeah, sure. So if you want to summarize what we do in a nutshell, we automate what is IT maintenance and cloud maintenance of infrastructure for large corporates. So our job is to make easier the way to manage like this large hybrid cloud on-premise data centers, IT corporation infrastructures. So in a way that this thing has not changed for the last 30 years. It has been like a bit modernized. They did like a bit of automation in the job. The arrival of the cloud changed a bit some stuff, but it's still very complex stuff that's happening. If you look at S&P 500, CAC 40 in France, these guys have large infrastructure, very difficult to manage. By design, they are not state of the art because it's not their product. They are not a tech company. We're not speaking like the NASDAQ companies. We're speaking like the whole guys that are like managing the main part of the economy. So it has been like for the last decades a very kind of simple job because it was human-led. A lot of offshoring was done also as well. Yeah. And right now this world needs to change. What we've seen is that a technology like agentic AI can kind of help this transition and help these guys to modernize their park, to modernize their processes, to optimize what is like their velocity of production release, their maintenance, responsiveness, and also reply to a lot of topics that are like quite crunchy right now, like sovereignty of data, sovereignty at all. So there is a lot of trend also right now on trying to avoid offshoring, trying to get back on EU soil, on the US soil, make the data private again, back to the data center, back to the on-prem. So this is all this world that we're serving. So we have a big agentic AI solution that is now able to manage all of these services that are like not always AWS, GCP, Azure, but could be like some VMware server, some Fortinet firewalls, stuff like that. Yeah. We do kind of every technology that we can connect to and serve this spark that could be sometimes complex because sometimes it's fully on-prem, fully air-gap, fully privatized, no access to the internet at all and stuff like that. So you need to create a product that is adapted to this kind of large variety of technologies that is covering, and also to the privacy concerns and the privacy restrictions they have because they are often like government related, all asset related. So when you work for banks, energy companies, government related assets, etc., etc. So 2501 is all of that. We serve our customers by pushing the most optimized solution for them that is completely agnostic in terms of technology, that is completely agnostic also in terms of LLM usage. We can plug ourselves to kind of any LLM that is, let's say, agentic ready. And we deploy that in a few hours to our customers so they can automate everything that is going down or that they need to maintain in their infrastructure. So if you're like, I don't know, BNP Paribas, you have a server going down at 4 a.m. in the morning, some customers will feel this impact because, I don't know, some part of the application doesn't work, stuff like that. Instead of waiting 1 hour that someone would wake up and take the ticket in the ITSM systems, it will be automatically done or at least automatically started and investigated by the AI.
So maybe you made like last point, how far is the LLM or the agent autonomy goes? Do they also like make fixes or do they just do the initial investigation? To which extent does the agent have autonomy to interact with the system?
Yeah, so our philosophy is that the agent should be autonomous. This is what we are kind of obsessed with that, and our design of products is quite unique because of that, and this is maybe what is pushing us a bit ahead of the curve. We don't build workflows. You will not see in our interface some point-and-click complex things where you need to do if else do that. It's quite very simple. It's a lot of prompt and securities that we build in the agentic system, but then everything is autonomous. You can put like restrictions. So of course we have a human in the loop mode where the agent is restricted from doing action, but still all the commands are generated by the agent, and it's just an appreciation of command that we'll use, I don't know, LLM as a judge technology or stuff like that to ensure safety of the product. So yeah, we want the agent to be fully autonomous. That's a bit our goal. And we want want to share that with our customers because otherwise ROI will be lower and also technology will be less kind of innovative. So we push forward this with our customers, and this is quite important for us. But at the same time, we build 50% of our work is about safety. 50% of what we do is human in the loop situations, how to be sure to inject the right business rules, the right restriction rules, blacklist, how to measure performance of the agents, etc., etc., etc. So it's not just about like the AI. Mm-hmm. The products are just AI, and there is nothing around it. But it's 50% also of tool set that we give around the product that is allowing the customer to feel safe, to measure, and to not do things that will go wrong.
It's an interesting approach. Perhaps, correct me if I'm wrong, like classify this a bit as AI SRE, so site reliability engineering, where there are a number of competitors, but I think a lot of your competitors, their value proposition is more root cause analysis.
Yeah.
Right? Like pointing at this is going wrong, but not necessarily this remediation phase that you're discussing as well, right? And I think what you're focusing on is the two.
And this is why also we kind of are feeling a bit 6 months ahead of the curve, or maybe we're just a crazy guy in town, I don't know. And because, from the beginning, now we should not just observe. Of course, it's obvious that everyone can observe, but the value of agentic is about doing things. This is why we build this agentic. My job is to just watch the agent work and not touching my fucking keyboard. That's what it should do. So because we are on to that since the beginning, we have built kind of a framework that works super well on that. Everything is in-house built. And this choice is a bit risky because in sales, you will have like more, let's say, it's taking more time to convince customers and to show that your product is safe, etc., etc. So it could be like a bit more difficult to sell. But when you are in, the value proposition is insane. And the ROI, when we send ROI metrics to our customers or leads, it's like, it's obvious. This is more like, okay, in 3 years, of course, it will be the standard because you put so much value back to the customer that they have no choice in doing that. This is where it's interesting. It's the very early days of agentic. Adoption is still ongoing, but at the same time, it's unanimous that everyone says it will be done like that.
Maybe to double click a bit, like I understand, like what I think I can definitely agree that it may be hard to convince people. There's more scrutiny, right, when they have like agency, basically. How do you get people over the hump? Like, what are the things that you can show them to say like, okay, it's not gonna mess up your infrastructure. It's not gonna make a bigger mess out of the incident. What are the things that you can share, that you can say to them to get people to get in, basically?
Yeah. So first, I'm not saying it's never going to fuck up because one day I will have a very bad call and it's going to be a bad day. But it's the same with if you hire some engineers offshore or even nearshore, even inshore. It's the same. Someone is going to fuck up someday and your infrastructure is going to be down. I lived that thousands of times in my life when I was working in big corporates or even when I was in a startup. The bad call on Saturday night will happen, but it will happen maybe less. It will happen maybe in different stage. So we are like saying that AI is not less intelligent than human. It's actually on this kind of task more precise often, depending on the model. Of course, we can debate on the model stuff and the model choice. But let's say we are convinced with our customers that in the end, human being will make more mistakes than an AI that is well done. And if we look at new AI technology like Claude, these new models, and even smaller models, like if we speak about like the latest Qwen models, Xi models, GML, it's like these guys are crazy. It's the quality of work that is done by the AI is very, very good. So it's quite an optimistic view of what's going to happen, but I'm pretty sure that on the statistic level, once everything is on production, we have like, I don't know, return of experience on thousands of hours of work, etc. The statistics will be in favor of the AI. I'm 100% convinced of it, and almost of our customers say so as well. The second part is that you need to bring the tool set, as I was saying. You need to bring not only the AI, but you need the tools to control the AI, to measure the AI, to make sure that we are not like having something that is wrong going on. And so for example, we built one of the first benchmark engine that is able not to monitor only if the AI does the job, like has it succeeded the task or not, but also measure the compliance of the tasks that has been done inside the job. So we measure every part of the job done against scenarios that the customer can customize and say, okay, am I seeing like this task and this part of the task and this part of the task? Is these forbidden things never happening because we don't want to see them, etc., etc. And so the agent is able like to work in full autonomy, and the customer can monitor them and say, okay, this type of task that I want to see in production now is stable, is going well, and we can like continue to push it in production. And if there is an anomaly, you go to this qualification environment, to this sandbox environment, and you can see the anomaly happening because, I don't know, you change the model, you change some prompt here and there, and there is maybe a bad impact. As soon as you will see that, you can stop your agent in production, find the fix in the sandbox, and then replicate. And so we bring the process of managing these things. It's still early days. We are building as we fly. But at the same time, it is the new way to work. You were speaking about these SREs or CSOPs guys in the corporate world. Their job is going to change. They are kind of changing. Before they were piloting human work, or they were doing themselves like production engineering, run engineering. Now they are like evolving to be AI pilots. And this is a new world. This is a new game. We are discussing with our customers every day, and it's so cool to see these guys that were like before just doing installation by hands, maintenance by hands, that use this knowledge that they've accumulated to guide AI and to build the best AI systems with us, and that will do the job for like a fraction of the cost and at a fraction of the time necessary. So, yeah.
Okay. So maybe to rephrase what you said, but in my words to make sure I'm following. Like you're saying, you're not promising that the AI will never make mistakes, but just the same as people do. People have done for a long time. And you really double down on also the traceability to make sure you can check what happened. Let's give that visibility and give that feedback loops to make sure that these things don't happen again and all these different things. It's more auditable as well. It's more maybe even predictable, I guess, because agents, especially if you have open models, it's easier to achieve reproducibility with people. Maybe it's more blurry, right? Does that sound about right?
Yeah, totally. We cannot lie saying it's perfect, it's never going to do something wrong. It's a lie. Don't do that. And no one will trust you if you say that. But yeah, everything is in how to make sure that the technology will continue to evolve and be more and more qualitative. And now we are, I think, in a kind of a Moore law of model accuracy. And we cannot even release models anymore without like thinking they are too strong now with the Mythos events arriving. So I think the model technology is kind of still evolving quite fast. Even if it's maybe not anymore the exponential curve that we've seen 3 years ago, but it's still very, very impressive. And there is a new generation of models that's arriving, a lot of research in world models, etc., etc. So it's going to be better and better every day we speak. But yeah, the need of having products is that a lot of people think that AI is just AI, end of the story. And you can see a lot of companies that are like just having PhD guys doing incredible job on models. But then on the application side, there is something missing because you need to build a good harness, you need to build a good tool set, etc.
Yeah. And you touched a bit on sales, like and I can imagine that you're a bit of this dichotomy because I assume that your typical company that you sell to, like they're very focused on having robustness, having reliability, and because AI agents and especially autonomous agents are still so new, like it creates this question like, will this not take our reliability down, even though your value proposition is actually to improve it or detect issues more quickly or resolve them more quickly, right? Like you have this we're a bit in this time period where we're still gathering data to basically make this argument it's definitely better than how we used to do it.
Yeah, so on our side, this is something that we have implemented directly in the release process with our customer. So instead of saying we are going to show you proofs, we build the proof together with the customer. So when we onboard the customer is entering what we call a sandbox phase, on which we work with the customer, like next to them. They have access to the tool, they build things with us. And this is important because this is when they see that by the proof that it's working. And they configure the product themselves. We train them, we help them, etc. But in the end, they become this AI operator. So this is very interesting because, as I was saying, you see a lot of top managers, guys that are like reading Gartner's or Forrester every day. And these guys will, of course, be convinced that in the next 3 years, it's going to be the trend. It's going to be the default solution. And everyone agrees on that. But then you need like to make sure also the entire teams, especially in large corporate, agrees with that vision. And if you lose the acceptance of the vision under the big C-level people, it's a bit a mess also to implement. You will have adoption issues. And we've seen that also in the company. We've seen in some customers real adoption issues because it's a change management for them that is quite critical to happen, especially when you are an IT company. Your job is completely like upside down since a few months, years now. So the only way is not to have like the best product only, but also to onboard them, part of your team kind of, and use the product as quickly as possible to be convinced themselves that what they do is providing value and this is going to be the default for them.
Yeah, and I think in that's what you're also doing is you're a bit uniquely positioned in the sense that the skill that you're productionizing, like you're at the frontier of what is possible with autonomous agents, and at the same time you have a strong expertise in how these large corporates, how their infrastructure looks like, which is typically not the most modern cloud setup, right? Like they have a lot on-premise, they have a lot of old school hardware that they're running on. And I think that combination of skills and combining them in a product is quite a unique position. Right? It's even hard to find just individual people that know about these two things.
So yeah, that was actually a fun thing. Yeah, you would see on the competition mapping that this enterprise AI agentic world is quite still a blue ocean, which is surprising. Everyone is SaaS cloud-based.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
This part is overcrowded. On this, you have like half of Y Combinator's 2 years ago was there. You still have like a lot of companies that raise actually a lot of money because there is still a huge market there. Still have like all these retail brands that are like completely cloud-based, AWS still. These guys are doing an extremely good job at doing this on this perimeter. But on our side, it's very interesting because you are on this old kind of world that is still the default for the majority of the companies. I was super surprised when we are in New York often, we speak with guys and a lot of people were saying, okay, how much on-prem is JP Morgan Chase? 60 to 70%. Goldman Sachs, 90% on-prem. All of them. I was in the office of Société Générale a few weeks ago. It's still majority on-prem as well.
Yeah.
And this is what no one has understood is that there is still a large spectrum of IT infrastructure that is not based on the cloud, that will never move to the cloud. It's not designed to be in the cloud. How do you move ABM, AS4 machines? It's possible. It's not possible. And it's not the work of AWS, of GCP, of Azure to do that. They are not able to host these things. So how do you serve this market? And this market is well underserved. It's still like all these actors that are still here forever, SAP, IBM, Fortinet, ServiceNow. These guys are here, they are not moving, and this is like a huge chunk of the IT services in the world. But yeah, when you were speaking like about the unique skill set and the unique like understanding, this is quite true because we were lucky to be surrounded by people from this world from time ago, and I was at the buyer side like a few years ago, so I could have understood both sides of the game. But I was so shocked that it's still the case. The on-prem majority component is still like a huge thing everywhere, and no one's like kind of interested in that part because it's super painful to interact with. Connectivity is not super easy. Sales cycles are super long. We are speaking about like 6 to 12 months in sales to sign a deal. This is why we kind of raised our second round because we needed to be strong enough to close our deals. So and you need to speak to some people that have kind of a unique culture as well. When you speak to these IT services persons, it's not like the usual startup client that you're going to have. These guys are super, super critical. They know their job super well. They are here forever. You speak to guys that are here since 30 years more sometimes. They have seen everything. They have seen like the .com revolution. They have seen like the mobile revolution. They have seen everything, and they're like still here doing data center stuff. Yeah. And you're like, okay, so it's very...
And during all the time, the mainframe just stayed the same mainframe.
Exactly. These guys are like, I've been here when we did the first automation infrastructure as code with Terraform, and I'm still here doing now the agentic AIOps transition.
Exactly.
And so that's very cool because you speak to some people that have like a large understanding of what is tech, but not shiny tech always, but very useful tech for the world.
Maybe I have a question also. Like I imagine that for LLMs, it's much harder to debug the scenarios. I mean, because just thinking of documentation, like the data that it was trained on, right? I'm sure it's very disproportionate. There's way more talking about AWS, GCP, all these things. Do you have any comparisons, views, or anything? Like I don't know. Let's say Minimax without much fine tuning, all these things does very well on debugging AWS, and on-prem we see that it drops a lot. Do you have any more numbers, any more details on that?
Yeah, I have a good example on this, which is For the last, let's say, 12 months, and especially until like very recently, our best player of recommendation was Qwen, because Qwen models are small, light, efficient. They have kind of the right balance between size, accuracy, cost, running on custom GPUs. So we were like all in Qwen. We are completely agnostic. We can work on any model, but this was our top one favorite model to push on. So when our customers were like, which model we should choose if we have the choice, we said, start with Qwen, 235B, 80B next. Now we have new ones arriving since a few months. So these guys were doing it. But when we tested something, which was like managing Windows Server, we noticed that Qwen was not that good. It was hallucinating a lot in, versioning of PowerShell and stuff like that. And we tested some alternatives, and we found that GPT-OSS, the open source, open weight LLM of OpenAI, was performing well better on PowerShell commands, Windows Server commands than Qwen for our use case. Maybe it's not absolute, but for our use case, it was the case. And even if it was a smaller model. So we're like, okay, maybe there is like some interesting conclusion to have that maybe, I don't know. It was from that gut guessing, because we are not in these companies doing the training with them, but potentially GPT and OpenAI being closer to Microsoft are having more data set on Windows than the rest of the world.
Oh, interesting, yeah.
And maybe Chinese companies that are training mostly on public resources or on own inside resources have less training on Windows Server documentation. And so that was some assumption we're having. And now we see that GPT models are good for some certain type of task, etc. I don't know if you heard about like the skateboard benchmark.
No.
It's quite a niche thing online. You should search for it. So there is something named the skateboard benchmark. And if you compare a Chinese model to an American model, the American model will know all the tricks of skateboards, where the Chinese doesn't really know it.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because the training corpus is not the same. That's cool because, I think the English models and American models especially are like trained on, everything that is online about skateboard and stuff, where the Chinese maybe social media and is not that much.
Cultural changes based on where the model was trained.
And what we've seen is kind of equivalent of this skateboard benchmark. We've seen that like Chinese model will perform maybe less on Microsoft products. But aside of it, if you go like to the extreme position of this, as long as a model has like, let's say, public corpus to train on, it's quite okay to work on, and you can work without that much fine-tuning, just like a good prompting engineering that we do inside the product is enough. But when we see that some product is exotic, and for example, there is a very famous firewall in Europe named Stormshield that is used mostly by government in France and in Europe. This one has almost no documents online, and engineers working on these products are super niche. There is only like a 600-page product on their website that is the documentation of the product. And so on this, you can try every model you want. Even Claude cannot work on that. So on this, we start to feel that, okay, we will need some fine-tuning. We need to put LoRa adjustment, reinforcement.
Makes sense.
Maybe one last question about model comparison. You mentioned Claude as well. How, from your view, because I imagine you have a very good view on this, what is the gap between open and closed models? Like I'm thinking, GPT and Claude versus the Chinese models.
You mean in terms of accuracy?
Yeah. So for example, I don't know, you have this client and then you say, okay, you have this type of problems. And you say, okay, Claude, I'm pretty sure it's going to do well, but maybe the open model is not sure. I imagine the open models are still behind, right? But like, is the gap still big? Is it noticeable, or like we think we're closing the gap, like open source and open models?
So I would say the gap gets thinner and thinner, but still super visible. You still have like these flagship models, foundations, rock stars that are like above the crowd because their model size is like, we don't know them. Yeah. And they have this kind of weird architectures that are like super, super complex to make this happen. When you speak to Opus, when you speak to Fable, these kind of models, it's not comparable. You're not speaking to a 200, 400 billion parameters model that can sit on a few GPUs in the data center. You're speaking to some stuff. I think people don't realize the level of complexity that this flagship model has just running on something compared to what is done on the small open source, open weight models. And this is where it's impressive, because if you compare, the Concorde plane with the small touring plane that your grandfather is driving on the weekend, Yeah. It's still flying, both of them, but there is one that is doing Mach 3 hours to New York, and the other one can just fly you 200 kilometers to the lake. Mm. I think this is the kind of thing. It's still a plane. It has an engine and two wings, but we are not speaking about the same level of complexity at all.
Yeah.
But this is where I think it's super impressive to see these kind of models going shrinker and shrinker. And there is now two different ways to do it. That is, do you need the flagship usage? And on this case, you pay per token, you pay per intelligence. And this is a use case you want on some case. For example, code development. All the guys now doing coding are using Claude by default almost. And you don't want to pay less. You're very happy to use Claude. It's super intelligent, does the job well. When you use your OpenClaw virtual assistant or digital twin, same. You want to use Claude because it does the job super well end to end. When you're in more guided space and when you're looking for efficiency, when you're looking for cost performance, when you're looking for privacy, which is a huge topic also, main reason why we don't use Claude, it's privacy first and then cost after. And this is where you can start to build like on open weight open source model that are like smaller. On this game, people are trying to make like the most compact models. So it's, for me, it's two different games. It's not anymore competing together. I don't think it will ever compete anymore.
Interesting.
I can imagine that's your, maybe you can shed a bit of light on that, like your typical customer, like do they prefer open weight models that they can host locally on their premises? Do you see a preference at these large corporates?
So there is first rule that is universal. Nothing goes outside the corporate world. We don't use any public LLM for none of our customers. We do it in demo, we do it in some tests, but that's it. At the moment we are installed in the corporate, we use either their inference partnership with Amazon Bedrock because they have a private contract with them and there is like a deal, or we use on-prem GPUs on the customer side. So that's the first rule. Nothing goes outside because by design it's not secure for their data. And if you want to stay like SOC 2, etc., you need to respect that. And especially if you work like in, I don't know, health situation, defense, corporate related or critical assets. And all of them are almost critical assets. So this is mandatory. And then, you see the planning now that we have with majority of our customers is that year one, we use an inference partner because it's easier to deploy. We don't lose time. Year two, we move from OPEX to CAPEX and we move into investing in GPU. So in the end, the vision is to go into open weight, open source models. And also what we do when we use the inference partner is to use this type of model as well. We don't use Claude almost never. Use on Bedrock, we will use a bit of mix of everything, GPT-OSS, etc. On Azure, we use Qwen a lot. So it's more like we start paying the token on this model that we target. It allows us to show to the customer that it's working well, that it's not that difficult. We don't need to invest day one in GPU, etc. And then we move into more long-term situation from year two.
So you're also saying that long-term for you have also this vision to build your own data center to host your models. How do you see this?
So yes and no, because it will not serve the customer needs that much, because we will become a liability for them.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah.
No, our vision is more that customer environments are quite complex, and sometimes even if you are in a big company that has announced a partnership with Mistral, these business units are very splitted and separated. Yeah. So if you work with the business case, they have already Mistral, GPU, etc. But if you work, for example, with the IT infrastructure, these guys maybe doesn't have a contract with Mistral as yet. And so sometimes we feel we kind of fell in this situation. And we try to fill the gap.
Yeah, okay.
So our job is to provide first the agentic solution and to make it work well. This is 90% of our job. But we have also this capacity to bring hardware if necessary and to deliver to the customer the capacity in GPU to host our models that we need.
Interesting. And maybe to briefly touch upon the open weight models of today, because like you and I think a lot of people are leaning on those very heavily, especially for these repetitive tasks, guided tasks, where they are very cost efficient, basically. How do you see the future of these things? When I hear this, I'm always a bit worried in the sense that it costs a lot of capital to train these open weight models, and they're more like most of them are run by for-profit companies that release this today for either marketing purposes because we don't trust DeepSeek for whatever reason. BNP will not open a contract with DeepSeek tomorrow, but they might with Mistral. So there is some marketing that needs to be done. Maybe there are geopolitical reasons to be competitive towards the states or something. But I don't see a very long-term future for these models that require so much capital to stay quote-unquote open source.
So you're right. There is something still to dig on that part on how the small, middle-sized model business will continue to exist. Is it something that will continue to stay sponsored for the sake of it? You have also a lot of sponsorship happening when NVIDIA sponsors a lot of people with free GPU usage, etc.
Sure.
It's actually marketing that is done also for these inference partners. If you're like base 10, for example, you want to sponsor some guys on Hugging Face to deploy the models. And because if one of them is going to be a hit, it's going to be good marketing for you because you're going to train these models as well. So I would say that there is always an interest somewhere to do it.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah.
And I would say that it's how good research should be done. It should be independent. Look at what has been done with DeepSeek. DeepSeek is a very good example of a model that has been like a bit, cheating, but at the same time...
But at a fraction of the cost.
Yeah, it was a proof of concept that distillation is sometimes better than training.
Exactly.
And that's actually something super interesting because ultimately it was not the right way to do it. But in the end, I don't know what they did is not, they showed that we should be able to train models more efficiently without kind of spending that much money. And so now people don't do that this way they did it with Anthropic, but they try to find a way to replicate this philosophy of distillation. So I would say it's a balance. We should have people innovating, we will have newcomers, we will have guys stopping to do it. And probably maybe at some point you're right, the new wave will be Mistral, OpenAI, Anthropic, just releasing small models that are like not very time expensive to run. And this is just part of their product lineup. That will be maybe the new standard, but I don't see that for the moment happening. If you look at the only one that has succeeded to do that is GPT-OSS with OpenAI, that is how to say super small market share still. If it was not Windows Server, we would not use it on our side. Mistral is, I think, trying to find their business model because a lot of the revenue of Mistral is services and engineering, model tokenization. Let's say selling API is not the majority of the revenue of Mistral. So yeah, let's see how it goes. It's still, I think, building as we fly.
True, there as well. Yeah. Talking building as we fly. Can you give us a bit of a view on, let's say, where do you see 2501 like going in the coming 2 years? Like, what are your big focuses?
That's a good question. No, we see things a bit everywhere. So our value proposition and the core thing we're doing right now is remediation. Is to do maintenance and fix of incidents automatically. So we focus 100% almost of our time on this. Our job is to do remediation, is to do incidents and maintenance request management. Observe, remediate, report. This is what we want to do in a nutshell. And we try to be the best at doing this because there is a lot of ROI for the customer. Then you can extend in a lot of different spaces. There is naturally the observability world that is super, super linked to us, on which we have some part of the product that start to compete with some people there. For example, we start to have releasing quite soon CMDB auto exploration, which is like a huge pain point for our customers. And there is no natural lineup of product that is solving this issue. So we know that we're going to like go a bit upper layer on observability. If we're going to go full scale there, or we're just going to just touch it a bit. But there is a lot of values there because you have companies like Dynatrace, you have companies like Big Panda, Datadog, all these guys are here. So we don't want to compete with them, but there is like maybe a sub-layer of their parts that is interesting maybe to absorb. Yeah. You have like the cybersec world, enormous. And with these new models arriving, the cybersec is something super, super, super big to consider. Budget in cybersecurity is increasing like, I don't know, we've never seen that. The new Mythos release has put in the highlights some big problems. And now cybersecurity team have a problem that there is every day too many threats arriving that they don't have like any more capacity to follow up and patch everything.
Yeah.
It's going to be something interesting, and our technology is perfect to do that as well, like cybersecurity audits, cybersecurity compliance check, SOC remediation, everything that you try to do on cyber. So we don't go there yet because we feel we don't have the credentials to do it. It's not our focus, and we should choose some battle at some point. So we want to stay on the remediation of IT infrastructure, but we have, for example, some customers already. I was discussing with one yesterday that are like, okay, inside the use cases I'm going to use 2501, I'm going to put some vulnerability tests. So we feel that cyber is going to be a big topic for us as well in the coming years. And on the below, I was saying before, the hardware also, there is a lot of difficulties around this world, how to build the hardware that is in capacity to host your models. For the usage of the models, what is the hardware looking like? There is today a lot of, under-optimized infrastructure on AI usage. You will buy too many GPUs, you will not use at capacity, you will not optimize your model correctly. So there is also a lot of stuff. On this, it's a very small part of our job because we don't do it for every customer, we do it for a very few customers that are needing it. But we feel that there is a small need there. But I would say our big topic is observability and cyber next to what we're doing right now.
But it makes me think, like, because again, you have a very interesting position there where you can traverse a bit into different fields because you start from this, you're at the infrastructure level, you're doing observance there, like you're doing root cause analysis, and like it's not a big step to say from there we're also going to do more in the cybersec, we're going to do firewall monitoring, right? Like it's not a big step to make. Well, on the other side, like if you would start with a firewall anomaly detection and then say, I'm going to go the other way, I'm going to do it now, do infrastructure failure detection. I mean, that's a way bigger leap, right? Like, so it's an interesting point to start from and to further build up.
Exactly. Yeah, it's way more natural to start from infrastructure and then to go on these things that are observability, cyber, and
exactly.
Because doing the opposite is more like you need to go back to the central core problem that is infrastructure itself. And in terms of sales, it's better as well because you're already like working with the key decision makers that are like the CIO or the CTO of these companies. And if you're doing well your job on the core infrastructure part, naturally you're going to have like opportunities elsewhere.
Maybe a last topic, fundraising. You've been quite successful in fundraising. Can you share a bit your approach there and also like the potential further needs in the future?
Yeah, so we raised 10 million in 2 years, especially it was like last year almost everything because our first round was a bit in 2 stages. So yeah, last year we confirmed to 10 million. So now the fundraising topic is about how we can accelerate into different markets, into different needs. So yeah, the fundraising strategy is something that is always also very evolving day by day. So try to also measure what is the capacity in terms of capital you need to deploy to make your mission a success. Because if you raise too much, you're then stuck in a certain way if you don't achieve your program. Yeah. We see a lot of startups, I will not name them, that have like raised first round 50, 100 million and then are stuck kind of in this position.
Expectations are so high that...
Yeah, and valuation is like, how do you evaluate a company that is like already evaluated at 500 million, $500 million,
exactly.
when there is no revenue? It's not foundation, it's applied AI. So we need to do stuff. Foundation, we can understand. Yeah, your model performs well, it does good benchmark. Maybe you have a few rounds before it starts to be mainstream. But on applied, you need to have like results on revenue, gaining customers, etc. So right now our focus is commercial deployment. We are 200% on sales. It's going well for us. We're like welcoming a lot of new customers this summer.
Nice.
It's very seasonal because it's a long sales cycle, but we are quite happy. Yeah, for the moment, the big focus is on sales, but we are like expecting probably to fundraise again by the end of the year or mid next year maximum. Not out of need, but out of creating this legitimacy. And I will be transparent with that. This is, in fundraising in VC world, you have at some points a kind of a tacit election that's happening where you raise Series A or Series B and the investors and the community and the customers are like, okay, these guys are going to be the default for a few years now. And this is what we try to be in the next coming round.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah. How did you experience the ecosystem for fundraising in what you're doing? Because if I'm correct, like the first round you did in Paris, right? It's a Galleon, I think it's a Parisian.
We started in Paris, but in every round there's been like a majority of European actors. Actually, right now everyone is European-based investors. So yeah, we started with Galleon. That was our first crazy follower. And last year, what happened is also Cast Capital from Germany joined and had the same vision with us. And Galleon continued to follow us. And we also made a very interesting fund named Axeleo. And we have also K-Fund in Spain that is part of our cap table. So yeah, it's a very pan-European cap table that we have right now. But our vision is to be global. So we are completely open-minded to raise elsewhere. Right now, I'm a lot in New York for customers, but also for potential investors. It's not a thing. But the feedback is, if you want my honest feedback on pre-seed seed stage, and this is something that is, I would say, yeah, everyone says it, but no one really confirms it, is that there is only a few actors that are pre-seeded, really investing in pre-seed. I would say right now, yeah, only 2, maybe 4 VCs in Paris are pure pre-seed player that will play the game.
Even though there are a lot of funds that claim to be pre-seed, right? But they're still expecting you to show revenue and early market fit.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah, it's a very FOMO world. So sometimes these funds that are expecting more metrics will just follow the crazy guy. But yeah, the very pre-seed logic, which is like purely founders-led, vision-led, I would say there is less than 5 in Paris that are doing it properly. I will not name unnamed people, but of course Galion is part of them. Kima is part of them. But this philosophy is still not, I would say, very French and very European. We have seen that more in the Silicon Valley. It is more like, okay, I like what you do, you look fun,
Exactly.
you look like a big crazy founder. Here is $1 million and figure it out. This is not something that we are used to do in Europe.
No, I agree.
In seed, it's a bit kind of the same because you're still on pre-market fits, kind of. You start to have some spark and something is starting, but the conviction is still what's driving the investment. So yeah, having funds like CUSP helping us on this and having the same conviction with us, putting kind of a good amount because it's still a good fundraising that we did is very, yeah, I would say it's very motivating because you're like, okay, people are also thinking about it and people that has like good experience in the market are thinking about it. So yeah, but you know, as long as VCs follow the power law, this is what I say to people fundraising. Find VCs that are like extremely following the power law. They need one investment to return the fund. The rest is more or less just running. And if they follow this logic, they will be able to also invest in kind of gut feeling and conviction.
Yeah. Interesting point of view, yeah. Fair point. Okay, very impressive story, Alexander.
Exactly. Yeah. Is there maybe, if people want to follow up this story, how can they reach you? How can they stay up to date? The website is 2501, so 2501.ai. But how can people find you, reach you? Yeah, stay up to date. And
my LinkedIn is the best way to say hi to me, and I reply to every message. So that's something that I continue to do every day. And I'm doing enterprise, so LinkedIn is my first social network now.
Yeah, we'll put it also in the show notes for people that want to follow you.
Yeah, sure. Don't hesitate. Thanks, guys.
Yes, thanks a lot. Is there anything else you wanna say? Any last words before we call it?
No, I would say people continue to grind. It's been like 30 years that we didn't see something like that happening. AI revolution it's the moment to create. It's the moment to grind. It's the moment to do some code. Yeah, maybe I think I'm a very optimistic person. I'm more like pro innovation than afraid of it. It's going to change a lot of things. Let's not be unrealistic. But at the same point, we are potentially seeing what is one of the first steps to, I don't know, a new kind of economy, a new kind of humanity. Yeah. Our life is going to change. And I think in quite interesting way.
Exciting
For
times.
sure. I agree.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks a lot. And
Thanks.
thanks for sitting with us and chatting with us.
Pleasure having you.